Morning everyone, welcome back to Dawn's Tailor Made hair scrunchies. Now we have few hair scrunchie videos on Dawn's Tailor Made on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook pages. We have the ones with the bunny ears, we have some sheer ones, and the questions I get asked the most are what is the fabric that's best for different sizes and what's the best length of elastic. Now it all depends on what you want to achieve. So this one here, this is an oversized one. It's twice the size of the one that we made with the ears, and they seem to be in fashion now, definitely. But I wanted to make an even bigger one. Now if you go to one of the Christmas videos that we did, I made a sheer one with some voile, and it didn't work out quite well. We added some binding and it wasn't a successful make. Now I've been looking at the different fabrics and as to why it wasn't a successful make. So I made the same size, and as you can see, if you're just using a cotton, it doesn't scrunch up, which obviously the clue is in the name. You need a scrunchie. It doesn't scrunch up very well. So cotton is out really if you're making one of the larger ones. But if you wanted to make one with sheer fabric, I have put this. So what I like to do is I like to wear mine around my bun. I don't always twist it over as you would you know, to put around a ponytail. I mean, it will still work, but you need a little bit longer elastic. So the elastic in this one is 7 inches, but you then over sew, and so that then takes it probably down to about 6 inches. Okay, but the sheer fabric does make a nice large scrunchie because it has some movement in it, whereas you can see with this one definitely doesn't have the same movement, although it is the same amount of fabric. Now these are all made in the same way. They are all made in the way that we made our bunny ear scrunchies. So we make them right sides out and we make a feature of our top stitching. So rather than trying to hide all your seams, now as you can see, actually I can't find my seam. Ah, there it is. Once you've scrunched this up, you don't get to see that bit, and if you do pop it at the bottom, then that seam is then hidden. But this seam here, it's nice to make a feature of your top stitching. So I've got a purple thread in there with a grey scrunchie, and now this one would fit perfectly around a bun, but you can twist it if you wanted to, and you could put it around too. So this is, as I said, it's twice the thickness of, almost twice the thickness of the one that we made with the bunny ears, and I've made quite a few today, and this is the better size. So when I sew the one with binding, oh, that's the other one that we made a Christmas one, didn't we? And we put a little bit of red fabric with some cord in it, and that was a beautiful one. I wore that lots over Christmas. It was lovely. So let's have a look at the measurements of the one we're going to make today. I hope that's answered a few questions. The other question about the elastic, it does depend on how you're twisting it. So if you're going to make a bun one, which this one is, so this is, it goes down to about 6 inches, okay? But and it also depends how elastic it is as well, elasticated. So this one is, it's one of those thicker pieces of elastic. You can see it inside here. It's one of the thicker elastics, whereas the one I'm using here is a thinner one. So it all depends on what type of elastic. So this has much more stretch in it than this one. So choosing your elastic does make a difference. If you're making a larger scrunchie, I would use the thicker elastic, okay, because it just gives you that more, it just makes it stick out more because you've got that much is going around your hair. Whereas if you're making one that you want to be, it's a large one, but your circle is smaller, then I would use the thinner elastic. Okay, so I will show you all the measurements for these ones. So that's the guide that we're going to make. Now, if you want to add some binding, this is, let me just get my ruler. Oh, that's centimetres. So this is 1.5 inches wide and it is 28 inches long, okay? And then the other piece, now I just used I've said before, use the tools that you've got. So I just used this ruler. So this is just double check. This one is 3 inches wide. So it just meant that I could lay it on my fabric and cut it straight out. It is almost the size of the thickness of a jelly roll. I think a jelly roll is 2.5 inches. So you could use a jelly roll for this. If you're interested in some of these fabrics, just put a note in the comments and I will share with you what these fabrics are. So what you need to do is you need to fold down 1/4 inch. Now I will show you the foot that I'm using. I'm using an open-toed foot today, and that has a perfect 1/4 inch built in, and I found it so much quicker to sew these 1/4 inches because it's just perfect. So if you can get hold of one of those, it will help. So you iron in 1/4 inch one side, 1/4 inch the other side, and then what you would do traditionally is you would fold this over, okay, and then you would sew along. Now this one that I made is slightly thicker than this one because I didn't add the binding, okay? So this one was 5 inches, okay, all the way around, whereas this one I've got my 3 inches here and then I've got my 1.5. So in total the fabric is 4.5 inches in width, okay? And then we will measure so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this around my bun, see how big I want it to put it on, and that will be my measurement, okay? So it'll be personal to you. So what we need to do is, as I said, we iron this over, and what you want to do is iron your binding over, and then you need to make sure, once you've decided how much you want to show, you need to make sure that is the same bit is showing all the way down. So I think about 3/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch. As you can see, once it's scrunched up, you just get to see that little bit. So decide how much you want to show, and then you can pop your pins in and secure where that is. I'm just going to bring the machine in. So a little bit out a bit more. So you've got your wrong sides together and you're putting this up against your folded seam. Okay, and just decide how much you want to show. I mean, you can have a large bit or a small, but I'm going to go about halfway down. And I'm just going to pop a pin in there. And then what we will do is we will fold the other side up and make sure that it's the same distance, okay? And then you get the width of your scrunchie, okay? So we're doing different effects today. I mean, there are no rules. I am actually going to make that a little bit longer. There are no rules with scrunchies. You know, you can make them whatever size you want to, but I would recommend that you experiment with how big and how small before you cut into your favourite fabric. Because until you know exactly how it's going to be on your hair. Now I have very fine hair. When I buy scrunchies from the shop, they don't hold my hair and they are too big. And it isn't that the size of it is too big, it's the elastic is too big. Now my daughter, Bethan, has really thick hair, really long hair, and she can wear, you know, bought scrunchies. So if you're making them for somebody, if it's for a younger child, you need to make sure that you are measuring, if you can, or get their parent to measuring how big their ponytail would be, because there isn't just one size fits all. You need to be making it to that person. So I'm just pinning this all the way down. It takes a little bit longer, but the effect really is beautiful. And we're doing this the way that we've sewn all of our other scrunchies is we keep the ends open. So that I don't go over that, I'm going to put 2 pins on the end to remind myself that I need to stop. Oh, it doesn't want to go in. Now, normally I would be pinning this down, but I'm pinning it up so that I can show you. And we need to do the same at this end. So you come in about 2 inches from the end. I'll pop 2 pins in there too. Now once this is all scrunched up, if it isn't perfectly level, you're not going to see it once it has been sewn. But again, I'm using my purple. I've just noticed I'm going to be playing cotton reel roulette because I'm not sure there's going to be enough there, but we shall see. So I'm using a darker purple because I think it matches both of those fabrics. So you then bring up your other side. Now, as I said, I would normally be doing this on the countertop. So you need to make sure they're about the same distance. And I actually probably wouldn't pin if I was doing this without you guys watching. So just lining that up. What I would do is I would put this all onto the ironing board and I would just iron it all smooth, and then I would use the iron to just hold everything. It would just keep everything in place, because once you'd put a crease here, it wouldn't move. But just so I can show everyone what I'm doing. Now you can see these are matching perfectly. This Ditzy fabric is so beautiful. I've been using it lots over the last few weeks. It is really lovely. And it has lots of colours in there, so you could actually put it with anything. It's got an orange in there, it's got a red, it's got a pink, got a green. I'm just using, as you all know, my favourite colour grey. So I just put the 2 in there. And the way that we sew this one, because we have our seam on the outside, the same as this one, it does mean that when you're closing up your gap, you can't actually tell where that seam is. You do have the seam across here. That's another tip. I'm using grey because it's my favourite fabric, and I just think it almost gives a reflective quality to the fabric. Although it's not shiny, I think the creases in it are beautiful. But if you use a pattern fabric, it is much harder to see your seam. Okay, I mean, it does disappear when you scrunch it up, but it is much harder to see. So I need to pop this under the machine. Now I'll show you this foot. So here is, see if you can see that. This is my open-toed foot. Now the normal foot, for those that are new, you normally have a piece going across here. Okay, but this is an open-toed foot, and this, and I've measured, is a perfect 1/4 inch. So if you would like a 1/4 inch seam, all you do is move your needle over very carefully, or most modern machines, you can move your needle over, and you move your needle over as close as you dare to that gap, and then you will have a perfect 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so I'll pop that back down. Just see everybody's messages. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining Dawn's Tailor Made today. How is the weather? Got a bit of a rain here. I'll bring this forward. Now these are very quick gifts. Now at the moment we're not able to visit people, so it's nice to make things for people. And I think now default I have got my sticky ready to put back up. So on and off my default stitch, so I am on 1, but I want my needle to move over as far as it can so that it's not hitting. But you need to test this on your machine, okay, because you do not want to be bashing against your foot. So this is my width, so I'm just looking and then I'm going to turn it down just to make sure that's not going to touch. So that isn't going to touch. And then I'm going to my length, and because it's a top stitch, I'm going to go, what did we do? We did a 4 on that one. I'm going to do a 5, which is the longest that I can do. Now I can see that there's a lot of fabric still under here, so as I go along I'm going to go slowly and I'm going to pull a little bit out. So I think it'd be quite nice if it isn't perfectly straight. It will give even more of a wave to our scrunchie. Okay, so remember we're starting 2 inches down. I will take those pins out. Got some new pins yesterday. Very happy with them. Oh, Joanna says it's super sunny. Is it always super sunny where you are though, Joanna? She's very lucky with her weather. So, back stitch. And then we're just going to sew all the way down. So I said I'm going to pull that out and do it slightly unlevel all the way along, and I think it's just going to add to the effect. Now I don't want to go too fast because I know that you can't hear me. So as you can see, I'm just lining up the foot with the edge of the grey fabric, and it's just a perfect foot to use if you need a 1/4 inch seam. Anything that takes the thought, is that the right word? Not the thought, because we are thinking when we're saying, but anything that gives you a little bit of a cheat I think is a good thing. So as you can see, I'm making a feature of the top stitch. So instead of hiding it, it's going to be part of our scrunchie, okay? Now, I know I've pointed this out before, but having a sturdy pin cushion very close to where you're sewing makes all the difference. So I can just pull these out, stab them in. I don't need to look where I'm putting it. And it just, as I said, something quick. You can just put it in, not worry about where your pins are going. It's really, really useful when you're sewing. I mean, if you were sewing this faster, then you definitely need something sturdy and close by for to put your pins in. So remember, 2.5 inches, 2 inches, thereabouts from the top. There we go. Okay. Now I haven't sewn one of these ones in a while. So I do remember when we did the Christmas one, those of you that watched it. Oh, Joanna says, it's a very nice winter day, 17 degrees. But you've got sun, Joanna. We are very envious. Is it Malta that you're in, Joanna? We have a little bit of drizzle, but no snow. We had some snow yesterday, but it didn't settle. So the way that we sew our normal scrunchie is we sew up to our 2 inches, and then we open out, leave the binding out of the way, we open out our seam here, okay? And then you need to match it up. I'm going to go slowly. You need to match it up with the seam on the other side. So you can't really tell with this grey fabric, but these are now right sides together. You can see because we've got the seam here where it's folded over. So that is the wrong side. So right sides together, keeping that binding out of the way. We just have to match up those edges. I'm hoping I only need to put 2 pins in here, because it does get a little bit fiddly under the machine, and if you've got lots and lots of pins, as I found with the even bigger ones, if you've got lots and lots of pins, it does make it quite tricky. So I'll fold that back, so there you can see both of our pieces are together. And now I'm going to use the same 1/4 inch seam, okay, and I'm just going to sew along here, leaving the binding floating, okay. Yes, Joanna says that she is in Malta with her 17 degrees. I don't know what the weather is, what the temperature is here. So I'm going to match up that foot again with the edge of my fabric, needle down, back stitch. Oh, I went off again, didn't I? Didn't use my own trick of holding up that fabric, holding up that thread, so I will show you again. Matching it up. Now if you hold your 2 threads up, okay, and then do your first stitch, it does not fold into the machine like it did the first time. So take that pin out. It's harder to keep my head out of shot when I'm trying to do something fiddly like this. And then just back stitch before you get to the end. Taking my threads off, and the threads go straight into the seam, the thread catcher. So now you hold your 2 pieces of fabric, leave the machine, and you just pull, and as you pull, they just fold back over. Okay, now this is where you would just sew up your seam normally, okay, and using your top stitch going all the way along, and your scrunchie would be done. But once we put our elastic in, we need to pop in our binding and join it up. Now I'm not going to be washing this scrunchie a lot, but I still need to make sure that the ends are nice and neat. So I'm going to just put the iron on. So I'm going to fold over a tiny seam, okay? I mean, actually I might be able to finger press that. So can you see? I mean, that's probably, is that 1/16? 1/8? Started my quilting journey and learning about all these teeny tiny measurements. And then what you need to do is then just pop that over the top of your other, and then as you sew along, that will be joined. I mean, you could run a stitch down there if you want to. I'm not going to, because I don't think it's going to come undone. As I said, I'm not going to be putting this in the wash lots. So there you have your scrunchie. Okay, now we need our elastic. Now, as I said, I mean, you're not going to see, I don't know if you could be able to see this, pop this in shot. I'm going to try my best. So I put my head in short. That is how big my elastic needs to be. Just wait for the viewer to catch up. Can't always, just waiting, because I can see on the laptop and I just need to see. There you go. So that is how I'm matching up my, there you go. So I'm going to snip that here. So for me, I'll fold that over so I can just use this ruler. For me, so that is 8 inches, this elastic, but it will allow for me to tie the ends up. Okay, now you need 2 pins for this. So you pin your elastic to one end, because I've made so many of these, and then I've just found that the elastic, I always end up losing it, even though I think I'm not going to. So pop it in here, and then I'm just going to thread that all the way through. Okay, just going all the way down to the other end. Now, because we use that 1/4 inch seam allowance, when this bunches up, you are going to get a little bit of a lip there too, and I think it all just adds For those of you on Pinterest, there are so many different scrunchies. Dawn needs chocolate. There are lots of different scrunchies that you can buy now, and just making something different. I mean, how pretty is that? You've got 3 different elements there. You've got the grey, that fabric is going to scrunch up. You've got the different colours, and then you've got your top stitching. Now I would even, that is the darkest purple that I had, I would even maybe recommend that you use an even darker coordinating thread, but we shall see. Take this out, do not let go. I've done that one before as well. Take hold of this side, and as I said, I'm not going to sew this one. With experience from making, using this to make, what was I using it to? I can't remember what I used it for now, but it doesn't like being sewn very well, put it that way. So I'm just going to put a little knot in there just to make sure that it is all done. Sorry, I keep popping my head in shot. So by pulling that all the way down, try and get your smoothest bit. Now we know that we already have this folded over. So what should happen is you line up your left side, okay, and pop in a pin. Now also having them upright like this, I mean, you could see I could just reach and grab there. And then line up this side. Now I have learned, obviously, from those of you that watched the Christmas one, it was really fiddly, but I have learned a few lessons along the way. Make sure that is even. There we go, and then pop another pin. There you go. And then we're pulling it out again, and we're going to pop. So we've got, I've swapped sides now, so my folded over piece is on the right. So good with this camera angle that when I say right, I mean right now. And when I say left, I mean left, because it is not in reverse. So there we go, and then I'm going to pop. So with ironing this all, it does make a difference because you have that crease already. Okay, and now all you need to do is pull that taut under your machine and then continue your top stitching. Put my scissors back in there. Now I'm not sure if that's going to be, I don't think that's going to be long enough or anything, so I am going to pop that in the bin. There we go, and we're still using our 1/4 inch foot. And I just realised that I didn't catch the seam on that side. If that happens to you, I know that you enjoy it when I have my little mistakes, and it means that when you're doing something, I can show you how to fix it. So all you need to do is make sure that you've lined that back up. Now, it might actually be a good idea to take the free arm off. So, line that back up, back stitch. Now you're not going to see a lot of this when, make sure I don't sew over my elastic. You're not going to see a lot of this when you are wearing your scrunchie because it is going to be, hence the word, scrunched up. Now I'm holding this back, so I need to make sure that I'm holding the other side as well, otherwise that's just, it's not going to be able to go underneath the machine. So once I've started, I'm just going to guide it with my other hand. It does mean we're going to have a double sew on the other side. And you will obviously have a lot longer to do yours, and you won't be trying to sew at this angle. Just take our threads off. Somebody was asking me about my sewing machine mat the other day. There will be a pattern and a tutorial coming up, I promise. There we go. Now back to our original gap. So under the free arm, lining up that foot so that our top stitching, we are going to go back into the same place, pulling that taut, making sure our elastic is over here, and we are going to go slowly because you've got lots of pins in there, and we don't want to be losing anything. So just slow down a little bit. Now it's not a long scrunchie, so stop, needle down. So you're not going to have to endure lots and lots of top stitching. Just pull again. I think that has just come untucked there. I've got a bit of a bump here, so if you go slowly and you guide, it should just go over the bump. There we go. Don't sew over pins. Take your last pin out. Now there is a little thread there. Having my scissors, as I said, pins on the right, scissors on the left, my thread catcher, everything is just where I need it. I don't have to let go of this now to go and find something that I need. So just matching up that thread, back stitch, and out we come. Put the machine away. So there we go, and I think you'll agree, adding that other piece of fabric, it's so pretty. If you do make some, I would love to see your choice of fabric. And as I said, if you're interested in this fabric, just give me a shout and I will pop a link up for you. It's actually a current one, whereas quite often I'm sewing with old fabrics from my stash, and you don't get to be able to purchase them. So put that away. So that is our scrunchie finished. Now actually, where we've done those two pieces of top stitching, I think that actually is quite nice. So what I might do is go back and do another layer. But I think you'll agree, it is a very pretty way of making a hair scrunchie, and it's just another way. Like I said, you know, we've got these oversized ones. This one is going to fit around my bun. Let's just see. Pop that over, under, and there you go. If you do make one, I would love to see your scrunchies, whether you make the oversized one, or as we said, we've got the softer ones as well. I think also if you made the bunny ears in this softer fabric and they were just hanging down, I think that would be really, really pretty. So thank you for joining Dawn's Tailor Made for the tutorial today. If you do make some, please post and let us see, and I will see you again on Saturday. Take care. Bye.